You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920, The Jersey.
We're recovering from last night. Tough 27-13 loss by the Eagles on the big stage at Lincoln Financial Field on Monday Night Football. Birds fall to 5-6 on the year. It was a tough one to watch in person. Defense didn't show up. The coach had some embarrassing decisions in the offense. That offensive line and wide receiving group just needs some work. And I feel bad, actually, for Carson Wentz. Now, Wentz didn't have a great game. Started off well. That interception was very costly. But someone that did have a great game, it was a writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer. And I'll tell you, being in the press conference room last night, this man just dominates the press conference. It may as well be the Zach Berman press conference with Doug Peterson. That's how good he does talking to the coach after the game. And Zach Berman joins us right now. ZB, what's happening, my friend?
Hey, thanks for that introduction. Good to be on your show.
No problem, and he's not paying me anything to say those kind words about him. He's that good at his job. So last night, the defensive line was not good. We know that. The first 6 games, 20 sacks. The last 5, only 6. What have you seen with the regression with the defensive line this year?
That's a good question. First off, Fletcher Cox, who was really productive those first 4 weeks, he had 4 sacks the first 4 games. The statistical production just hasn't been there. And there have been games where he's been productive in terms of penetrating the line of scrimmage. But for the most part, he's really getting double teamed, not getting much one-on-one coverage. So that's something that sticks out, and you need the other guys to step up if that's the case. In last night's game, I think a lot of it had to do with how quickly Aaron Rodgers threw the ball. And you saw that a bit, too, when the Giants played against Eli Manning and some of these other quarterbacks. But the bottom line is this defense is built around their pass rush. And if they're not getting pressure with 4 guys, it's going to be hard for them to win games. And they didn't last night, and they haven't pretty often in recent weeks.
You know the situation. It was 3rd and 4 last night, 17-13 game. Eagles still in it. Cox has that penalty after the defense makes a stop. That goes on to be a 13-play, 75-yard touchdown drive. 3 other third-down conversions on that drive, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 5, and 3rd and 10. Your thoughts on the Fletcher Cox penalty last night?
Inexcusable. The right call, tough call. You know, I don't think he was trying anything dirty per se, but it was the right call and an inexcusable penalty. And perhaps you excuse it if it was an exception, but this is now the 3rd game this season, the Lions game and the Washington game earlier this year, when he's had similar penalties that cost the Eagles points. And I mean, bottom line, it can't happen. So, Fletcher Cox is a really good player. He's, in my opinion, the most talented player on the Eagles. But he's had roughing the passers now on 3 different occasions that have led to, I believe, 15 combined points. So the Eagles need to. It's as I said. The word I would use is inexcusable, and I think Fletcher Cox would tell you that as well.
Now, when you take a look at areas of need, offensive line, wide receivers, cornerback, that's what jumps off the page. I know there's talent at the defensive line. Is the defensive line, when it comes to the offseason, now a position that they need to upgrade?
Oh, one of the positions that they need to upgrade, and I'm telling you, Zach, there are many of them. Cornerback, offensive line potentially, depending on what happens with Jason Peters. Wide receiver, obviously. They're going to need help at running back. But I think edge rusher, and they're going to have a decision to make whether to bring Connor Barwin back or not. They paid Vinny Curry a lot of money, and they haven't gotten the production that they need from Curry. So, I mean, that's I would say pass rusher is an area that they're going to need to look at because it's so important. But really what they need is the guys they're paying to get to the quarterback, and that just hasn't happened enough.
Zach Berman with us right now from the Philadelphia Inquirer on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920, The Jersey. ZB, I thought it was the right call last night to sit Nelson Aguilar. His play, you can't keep on defending that. I thought it was a good job by the coach to sit him down. How about you? Did you like that decision?
No, I did not. I disagree
Why?
with you there. The reason I disagree is because he's one of their 3 best wide receivers, and therefore he should be active. And they had an out too. I think they should have reduced his role. I don't think he should have played 80% of the snaps. But I think what Nelson Aguilar needs right now is confidence. He doesn't need a break. He doesn't need to get away. He needs confidence. I would have had him active, and I would have had to try to get him the ball early in the game, because I thought Nelson is a guy that you're trying to salvage. And frankly, the only reason I would sit him is if I feel that he's such a detriment to the team that the guys behind him are better options. Well, you saw Paul Turner last night. I believe 26 snaps. Was not targeted, and he was not targeted because he didn't get open. And he didn't get open because he's not a better receiver than Nelson Aguilar. And that's not to take anything away from Paul Turner. But I feel I'm not defending the way Nelson was playing.
I got you.
But I just think Nelson Aguilar needs to be on the field because he's one of the three best receivers on the team.
Two-part question. Can you salvage his career in Philadelphia with Nelson Aguilar? And number two, does he play this weekend?
To the first part, it depends what you consider salvage. I don't think Nelson does anything special enough that he'll live up to that first-round pick status, but I think you can salvage in terms of having an NFL receiver. I mean, if you take him for what he is, then I do think he can be a contributor for your team. But I don't see how this is going to end well. If they don't have the confidence in playing him last night, then I'm just curious where this ends up. I think that's a bad sign. As to the second part of the question, I think he needs to be active this week. I don't know. I simply don't know. Jordan Matthews is going to be back. Matthews has a sprained ankle, but he's going to play. And the Eagles haven't activated 5 receivers this year. And when they had an opportunity to do it last night, they didn't. So unless they sit Paul Turner, and it didn't seem like Doug Peterson's thinking in that respect right now, then there's a risk Nelson could be down again. I don't think he should. I think if they want to jumpstart an offense that has not scored more than 24 points since week 3, then it's going to take Nelson to do it.
Zach, let's get to the head coach because it wasn't a good night for him. I look at it from a defensive coordinator's standpoint. The thing that you want to do to the Eagles is take away the run. And with this offensive line and wide receivers, force Wentz to throw, and he'll make a rookie mistake just because he doesn't have the talent really around him. Last night, Doug took away the run game from his own team. He didn't have any commitment to running the football. There was times in that game where I thought Smallwood was moving the ball well. Why did he do that last night? Why not run the football some more?
Well, they didn't have many plays last night. He did get away from it a bit, but I don't fault him for it. I mean, when Kirk Cousins played against Green Bay the week before, he put up 375 yards and 3 touchdowns. A week prior to that, Marcus Mariota had 4 touchdowns against this Green Bay defense. I mean, I agree the Eagles need some balance in their offense, but Carson Wentz needs to be able to throw the ball on those guys. And you saw what he did that first drive. And I know
he was
they
electric
in the run there, but he was. I believe he was 6 for 6 on that first drive. And look, Carson Wentz is going to be a really good quarterback in Philadelphia for a long time. But he had a bad interception last night. The Eagles were down 4 points.
You're right.
They were driving into Green Bay territory, and he threw a bad pass. There's no way around that. Now, that doesn't mean he's a bad quarterback, but that's a momentum-changing play. And so, I don't put that all on Doug. They were playing against a pass defense that hasn't been able to stop anyone in recent weeks. I mean, over 30 points the past 4 games, over 40 points the past 2 games. The Eagles scored 13 points. That's not on Doug Peterson. Part of that you could say it is his offense. But that's overall. That's Carson. That's the receivers. That's the offensive line. That's the running game. So they did get away from the running game, I felt. But I also think that I thought going into the game, Carson was going to need to play well for them to win. And Carson did not play well enough. He played well, but he did not play well enough.
So we talk about the decision-making of Carson Wentz, and I agree with you. It was a bad interception last night. When we get to the decision-making of the coach, a few things I've seen this year. Not kicking the field goal in the Cowboys game. Electing to go for it and not taking the points in the Giants game. Last night, that challenge, there's no defense for it. I thought the defense after the game was embarrassing by the head coach. And then also, that play call after the Matthews catch, that whatever fake end around that Wentz almost got killed on was just a bad play call. How do you evaluate his decision-making? I know he's young. I'm not someone saying fire the head coach. Those people are just absolutely ridiculous. Just where is your confidence with this head coach right now? That's what I'm asking.
Well, first off, let's take the young part out of it. He's a head coach in the NFL. I mean, this isn't, there are no training wheels when you're the head coach in the NFL. You step in, you got to coach. And this is something I learned, I don't want to say a long time ago because I'm a young guy, but this is something I learned when looking at this stuff, is you need to separate the decision from the result, okay? And that's important to do. So when you take the play call, are you reacting to the decision of the play or the result of the play?
Well, I'm reacting.
That's why
hold on. I'm reacting of the decision because I thought that was getting cute there. Like, for example, I'm not someone that's going to just hide behind my Twitter. And I know you know me, Zach. Like, for example, in that Cowboys game, I was saying on the spot, kick the field goal. In the Giants game, I was saying kick the field goal. It's not me second guessing. Just want to clarify that.
Sure. I mean, in terms of the challenge, that was a bad challenge, bad decision. And anyone who saw it at the time was probably saying, why are you trying to get 2 yards and lose that challenge flag? And it didn't turn into something consequential for the game, but it was a poor decision. I thought a poor explanation afterwards as well. With some of the decisions earlier this year, you can look at those Giants fourth down calls, and I get it, but I believe going into that Giants game, they were 4-4 on fourth down too. So you need to look at each one individually. You need to separate the decision to go for it from the play call in some of those cases. Like you go back to that Giants game, I liked the decision when they went for the fourth down with Carson Wentz. I didn't like him running around the left edge on that play. And I know we're going back there. But to answer your question, Doug Peterson's been inconsistent in his first year as coach. And there have been times when he's done well. Early in the season, he was outstanding in terms of his decisions, I thought, especially those first 3 weeks. Behind the scenes, I thought he handled the quarterback situation as well as a head coach can. So I give him credit there. But, yeah, going into the year, Zach, I had my doubts about how Doug Peterson would be on game days. I thought Monday to Saturday he'd be fine. I thought Sunday was going to be an issue. And with a larger sample size here, frankly, that's what's coming up, is that there are too many decisions that turn into bad decisions because they have bad results.
Two more for you, Zach Berman from the Philadelphia Inquirer. I want to take this question a step further because this team needs a lot of talent to be improved around them. No one's going to disagree with that. Howie Roseman had a good offseason from what a lot of people thought here in Philadelphia and also South Jersey. He's going to now be in charge of the guys, along with Douglas, that bring in the offensive linemen for the future, the wide receivers and the cornerback. We see a good quarterback in Indianapolis that's kind of getting wasted, and it's been a bad job by Ryan Grigson. Where is your confidence in Howie to fix in these next two off seasons? Where's that confidence at?
We'll see. I don't think anyone can answer that question with any degree of confidence right now, just because there's so much unknown about Howie's kind of second go around here, and there was ambiguity in the first go around, with especially when Chip was there and getting players for Chip's system. And it's a different front office structure here. Obviously, Joe Douglas has introduced a whole new scouting system, and Joe Douglas is going to be heavily involved. But Howie is in charge, and he's done a good job recuperating some of their picks, but you got to hit on the picks. And cornerback is going to be the most important one they need to hit on, because their draft history at that position in recent years is horrible. There's no way around that. I mean, they have had such a hard time addressing that spot. They've had to go into free agency, and that hasn't been fruitful in many cases. So they need to hit on cornerback. Wide receiver, my personal opinion, they have enough young receivers. They need to go into the free agent market and sign someone who can step in. I believe free agency is a place to kind of compensate for draft mistakes, and the Eagles have had draft mistakes at wide receiver. And then offensive line, a lot of that's going to depend on what happens with Jason Peters.
Last one for you. This season, they're not going to run the table the rest of these 5 games. Let's just throw that out. They're not going to the playoffs. It was a dream. I understand it. People need to take a step back today, even though we're being critical and say, look where their expectations were beginning of the year, though. To end this season, though, let's say on like some sort of positive note, you want to see them play well towards the end of the season. What do you look for in these next 5 games? What are some positions? Just what do you look at when you see this football team in the Final 5?
Good question. I'd say development of Carson Wentz. That's one thing. Which of these receivers, other than Jordan Matthews, can show that he belongs here? Whether it's Dorial Green-Beckham, whether it's Nelson Aguilar, can they get something from one of those guys? Isaac Seumalo, is he going to get some time on the offensive line? I think he's someone to watch. And then the big one is Jalen Mills. Can Jalen Mills be a starting cornerback for you? And you're already seeing it trended in the direction that Jalen's taking the majority of the snaps over Leotis McKelvin. I think he should be an every snap player here. Get that film on him and know what you have in Jalen Mills going into the offseason.
ZB, great job as always. Read you in the Philadelphia Inquirer and also online each and every day. Appreciate it as always.
Anytime. Take care.
You too. There's Zach Berman from the Philadelphia Inquirer. I was a little bit interested and intrigued by his stance on Nelson Aguilar. I was. At some point, and I get it, hey, the talent around Wentz stinks. They don't have wide receivers. You can make the argument they sat one of their better receivers last night. It's not a good argument because you look at what you have. It's a lot of trash around them. When you consistently make bad plays, you consistently, after being a first-round draft pick, drop the football. You line up in the wrong spot. Those are mental errors, and you need to be held accountable. Now, they may have ruined his confidence last night. Well, you know what? If that benching ruins his confidence, I don't want that guy on my football team. Because that's not someone that could block out the stupid things that go on, the criticism. That's not someone that could be resilient and say, all right, I dropped the football. Let me go back and make the play. And I thought that benching was well-deserved. Now, if he will play this week, yeah, throw him back out there. Because they stink, but a message needed to be sent to Nelson Aguilar. And I thought they went to the extreme with the message. And that was sitting him down for the game, saying, hey, you're not playing. You've been that bad. Your play has been detrimental. I need to sit you down and say, Nelson, get your head together. And after the game with his comments last week, that was someone that needs help. That was someone that's not in the right spot. So I was fine with that decision. Now, I would put him back in because you need to see in these next 5 games if you could salvage him. And he may not be back next year. He may be back because of the cap number. There's a good chance he's back next year. It will be interesting to see how the Eagles handle this from going on forward. And Doug said he's not ready to make that decision yet. We'll see this weekend. Now, with the rest of the team, defense was embarrassing last night. 10 of 14 on third down, no rush, and that's the strength of this team. That defense has regressed. I thought Jim Schwartz should have talked last night. The coach, we've been over it. We could talk that until I'm blue in the face. And Doug had a few good games to start the year. When he was aggressive, it worked. And now we're seeing when he's aggressive, it does not work. I question the hiring. I thought they thought it was a safe hire because of what happened in the last regime where there was a contentious relationship with Howie and Chip. And that got bad. Really bad. We all know that. They brought in Doug because Lurie trusts Howie. And they needed someone that could work. And you bring in someone that no other team was interviewing, a guy that's familiar with Philadelphia, it's been in this organization before, and it was a safe hire. His experience, still something to question. Yes, he's been in NFL locker rooms. He's been a backup quarterback. He's been a starting quarterback. He's been an offensive coordinator. There is a reason, though, why no other team was calling, and it could work. I'm not saying it's not going to work, but there are serious questions. And right now, I don't know what this head coach is. I think the quarterback is really good. You don't know what's around the offensive line for the future. You don't know what the wide receivers will be for the future. Because there's not enough good wide receivers. There's not even, after Matthews, there's not one wide receiver that you'll stand up and say, I want this guy back. There's just not. And the defense, the back end, the cornerbacks are brutal. Linebackers, minus Hicks, little overrated. Defensive line not playing well. This team has a lot of work to do. And the way they're going to fix this, it's not just this offseason. It's going to be off seasons to come. It will be. There's going to be more than just this offseason to fix this team. You're also going to need an offseason after that. And that's why this next 2 drafts are so essential for this team. This is the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920, The Jersey, 609-9199-D200. Don't worry, we'll get to the person calling in right after the break. We'll take a quick break right now. 5:36 is the time here in the Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios. We'll come back. We'll get to the caller, and also we have to play a game of Checker X and recap a disaster week for the Philadelphia Eagles in the National Football League, a bad week for the Jets, and a good week for the New York Football Giants. More of the Zach Gelb Show when we come back.